Okay. We'll give it another minute. Plus Neil will fail on us, so it's okay. No, she's not going to. All right, so, I don't even think she can hear us. Yeah, but we don't have any. No, I mean, when we start. Oh, yeah. Well, she might try to say something, we'll see how that works out. All right, we'll go ahead and let's get started. All right, I'd like to call to order the February 6, 2024 regular meeting of the Oshtemo Township Board.
Could you start over?
Welcome.
Turn it on.
I know, I thought I had them all muted. I already had them muted. All right, let's call to order the February 6, 2024 meeting of the Oshtemo Township Board. First item to discuss, well, not to discuss, but to present the board right now is that we will be pulling item 8C from the agenda. Second item, are there any nominations for chair of the meeting since the supervisor is absent from the meeting? I will nominate myself. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? All right. I'm going to skip forward to item 4, the Township Mission, Vision, Core Values. Is there a volunteer to read a core value?
I'll read this. It's right here. Sustainability. Meet the needs of the present without compromising future generations. Consider the environment through practices that reduce impacts, value-conscious decision-making, committing to quality fire and police protection.
Thank you very much. I'm going to move on to item 5, which is public comment on non-regular session items. Is there anyone present wishing to provide public comment? Please step to the podium. Yes.
My name is Keith Iden. I'm 75 years old. I've lived in the township for 46 years. I've put in probably right around $100,000 in taxes to the township. I come to talk today about starting with Flesher Field. It's a wonderful park. It's well maintained. There's something there for everybody. It's welcoming. I've been going there for years. I got pictures of my grandkids, my granddaughter in the pavilion dancing with the clogger ladies, and my grandson sitting in a fire engine front seat. And so it's a wonderful park. My problem here today is I got a little bit of a grump. Just 100 feet away is the Youth Advancement Academy. And I don't know how long ago, but I think maybe this, first of winter or something, they put up a bunch of signs that are illegal, they're obnoxious, and intimidating to people. And it's just a short distance away, 100 feet from Flesher Park. It's actually attached. Those signs, I couldn't print things out. My printer ran out of ink before I could print them out, so I got them on my tablet. Bunch of intimidating signs reading, no parking, private property, visitors will be towed away at the owner's expense, unauthorized parking, unauthorized vehicles are prohibited, no trespassing or loitering in school property, private property, no trespassing, a bunch of other signs with negative stuff as well. Front door, a bunch of negative pieces of paper hooked up there, all of them, nothing very nice, just directives. Same with the back door. Another no parking, private property. Those are lies. They are not private property. They are public property, paid for by the taxpayers. So they have every right to be on that property. Here's another picture of the back door. I was around taking pictures of the signs. And in the back door, where there's other negative signs sitting there, a lady came in and was trying to get in the building. And she eventually turned to me, standing a ways away, and said, "How do you get in this building?" And I pointed to her. There's a doorbell over on the wall there. Let's try pushing the doorbell. She pushed the doorbell, and the lady came out and was talking to her for a minute. I didn't listen in. I was just standing there. She left after about a minute talking to the lady. Evidently, she couldn't get in. I, in turn, went up to the lady and started talking to her. And I'll paraphrase here what was said. I had to write it down so I'd make it accurate. I approached the employee and said, "I see those signs out there saying this is a private property." She shook her head, "Yes." I said, "Is it private property?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Do you receive government funds?" She shook her head, "Yes." I said, "If you receive tax dollars, that makes it public property."
You have 20 seconds, sir.
Oh, I didn't know that ahead of time. Well, geez, that doesn't even cover half of it, the whole story. Bottom line is, at the end, she said, people come in there very angry, come in there with their dogs, and they poop all over the back lot. And so that was the end of that. The bottom line, the signs are not legal. There's no ordinance listed, nothing. So, and they're gonna want to tow people away. I don't think it's fair. I want to see those signs taken down. By the way, it's my understanding that the school is going to be torn down in the summer sometime. I kind of would like to know what's going to happen to the school. Are they going to rebuild? There's nothing on the internet to tell me.
Thank you for your comment. We can address this internally with staff. If you want to leave contact information, Vanessa, could you take that, please? So our Parks Director, right behind you, she could take your contact information and we can follow up. Thank you. Is there any other public comment?
Good evening, Tom Brennan from the Road Commission. I'll be brief. Couple of things. Obviously, we're taking full advantage of the nice weather, trying to clean up still from the storm. We had over 300, and in addition to pushing snow and ice, over 300 trees in the road that had to be cleared during that period of storm. And then we now have to go back and clean that up. I think you're aware all the PAR funds from all the different townships are being utilized by each of those townships, so there won't be any redistribution this year. The 26th Street site progress is coming along very well. We expect occupancy by about the 1st of March for the main building. We already have occupancy on most of the other buildings. We're moving, in addition to working on cleanup of the roads, so on and so forth, we're transferring all of our materials and equipment over that we possibly can. On time, under budget so far, so things are going very well. You're all invited. I think you will have received information already, but our public open house for the 26th Street site will be March the 21st from 4 to 7 p.m. I have a flyer I'll give you, Dusty, but Everyone obviously is invited. We'd like to have you come out and see what the new situation looks like, and it'll be our home for the next 100 years. Any questions or comments? No, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, that covered item 6, which was public officials updates. And seeing and hearing no one else present, we will close that out and move on to item 7, the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of the regular meeting from January 23rd, 2024, the receipts and disbursements, and the 2024 poverty exemption policy. Is there anyone present wishing to remove anything from the consent agenda? I would entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
All right, we have a motion and support. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Now we're going to get into, well, I can't stop myself from saying it now, the meat and potatoes of the meeting. The number 8, budget amendments. And we will start with the 2024 annual Road Commission Power Project contract approval.
I'm gonna walk through the memo for everybody. Like Chair Brennan mentioned, everybody's getting their contracts for their PAR projects for 2024. The way the PAR funds work, just for background for everybody, PAR stands for participation. It's one of our our acronym attempts here. And so they are based on total road mileage, population, and urban area. And the Road Commission allocates a certain amount of money every year from their budget that they get from the gas tax dollars and the registration, vehicle registration dollars. And so this year, Oshtemo has just under $300,000. Based on the law, we have to provide a dollar for dollar match towards those. So we are actually almost doubling that amount with our local road fund. And really those, our goal has been set to spend about $750,000, which is about 3/4 of the amount we bring in with the local road fund on preventative maintenance. So these are our existing roads. We're trying to extend the life of them, make sure they're in good repair. And the Road Commission has spent many, many years collecting data and looking at different mix of fixes, as they call them, that suit our climate. And kind of we're on a cycle of when to do chip seals, when to do overlays, and things like that. So mostly this year, we're looking at doing chip seals. I will make a plug for, they have a very nice informational YouTube video on the Road Commission's website, if you are ever curious about those little stones that sometimes end up in your road, but how the whole process works. So we did actually, the Road Commission provides projects every year for us. They did provide a few more than are being recommended by staff, and those were deferred particularly because we have planned sewer expansion projects in those areas. So we're trying to be very mindful that when we spend road fund dollars, that we're gonna get the most out of those dollars. And if we have to put in water or sewer or another utility, we would potentially be losing a lot of return on our investment. So we did defer some of the projects that they recommended for those reasons. And then the other thing that's highlighted is that I think the board has been aware of that we have some residents on South 2nd Street. That is one of our few gravel roads. It is our only through gravel road, and it's been quite built up in the last few years. There's a very large development at the south end of it that's using it more and more. So those residents have asked, submitted a petition to do a special assessment district. We only have the signatures at this part. We still have to work through the whole process with them. But we were waiting for this estimate because they really wanted to know the numbers for that. So the budget amendment that's included in the approval of this item is because that estimate was updated for Second Street. And so again, I'm meeting with the resident that's leading that initiative later this week to talk through that with her. It was mostly just because asphalt prices went up, if you can imagine that, for this year. So that's reflected in that estimate. I'm happy to answer any other questions the board might have, but.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. I noticed in the background section here, you say that the township overmatches the PAR funds.
Yep.
Could you explain that to me? I don't understand what that means.
Yep, so we would have to do a dollar for dollar match for the $297,754 that they provide. Because we have a larger road system and we have a certain level of service, we're trying to keep our roads at a certain, it's called a PASER rating, but it's a conditional analysis that they use. We looked at the life cycle cost analysis and projected that we need to spend $750,000 annually on maintenance. So that's why we go up and above that match, because if we were only matching those PAR funds, we would be below what we need to do to maintain our level of service on our road network.
So the amount above what the PAR funds level is not a match
Correct.
anymore? Okay.
It's just an additional contribution.
We put in 100% to get the match,
Yeah,
and then a
that's-
little more
That's what I was
to maintain. Yep.
It would have been nice if we could have gotten a little more by having more money, but, okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes that happens, right? Like, they'll have some communities that don't use it, and then they do another round.
Yep, we did sign up for any redistribution of PAR funds this year. So if somebody doesn't use all their funds, we will be in line. I do know our amount has gone up every year pretty consistently from the road commission. They continue to increase the amount of money they put towards that.
Okay, and then another question, you say the roads that are chosen here are based on the PASER? Okay, super. One more thing, sorry. Trying to reach here. Page 22 of the packet, where it lists streets. There's a street called Toscana Street, which I assume should be Toscana Street.
Correct.
Just wanted to- That's it, thanks.
Yeah, it's on the estimate, Neil, as well as in the contract. So I did make a note in the contract that needs to be, those just 2 extra letters.
So I have a question regarding Autumn Grove. You can see this on page 27 of the map, the green colored one, the forest green, not the lime green. That is a fairly new development. It was within the last couple of years. Was the road not built to county standards? Or is there an explanation why they would get new road funds for a very new street?
Yeah, I'm going to use the analogy of kind of like an oil change in your car. So you do these preventative maintenance things to keep up with them. So the chip seal it's supposed to be where some of the voids start to happen after 5 or 6 years, and you would do a chip seal on a road every, I think the road commission actually pushes it to the max of that, like 7 years. So it's just getting to that point where it's been used for a few years, and now it's time for a chip seal. I think it's when it gets to a PASER of like 7.
That's the odd thing, because that street is, if I'm not mistaken, 2 years old. All the houses, and you would know,
Which one are we looking at?
Autumn
the
Grove.
road just before Penny Lane.
Yep.
So 9th Street, that new road where they built all the new houses across from, there's a church, it's the first left on.
Yeah.
It's older than 2 years,
It's-
for sure. I was walking that neighborhood when I got the call on my house sold, and that's about 4 years ago, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is just, it's preventative maintenance work, just putting a new top coat on to extend the life of the main
Subdivision, yep. And typically that's a plat, but typically we make them do all the infrastructure first. So the road would have been completed before any houses were actually built as well. So I don't have the year it was built off the top of my head, but it isn't just an attempt to be preventative.
Thank you for that.
Good questions. Are there any more?
Is this new carryover, or was this budgeted last year?
This is new carryover. It was, yes, I think I understand what you're saying.
Thank
but
you.
yes. Like an oxymoron, Claire, a new carryover.
We have 3 definitions for carryover, so let's not talk about that today. All right, if there are no other questions, is there any discussion? I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve and authorize the supervisor to enter into the PAR contract with the road commission.
Support.
I need it to also be with the amendment for $48,076.
And that too.
Thank you.
I'll support that too.
We have a motion and support. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0 with 6-0, sorry. 6-0 with 1 absent. All right, we will move on to the next item, which is the 9th Street right-of-way acquisition, budget amendment, and authorization.
So again, walking through the memo with the board, this was a project that we received a Transportation Alternative Program grant through CATS, which is the Kalamazoo Area Transportation Study. These are quite lengthy planning projects and then getting actually to construction. So we did get a consultant on board in 2023 to start doing the engineering for the project. The design is now complete. We did host a public meeting as well in 2023. I want to mention that, and talk to many of the residents. We have a certified right-of-way, MDOT certified right-of-way agent that was a part of that engineering team that's doing the design. They have worked through all the easements and the original design and easements that were drafted. We thought we were going to need a lot more land and right-of-way acquired. Thankfully, now that we're finalizing the design, we were able to reduce those easements, and the cost has come in much less than we expected. It did delay it a little bit, so all this money was in the 2023 budget, and we just didn't get to the point of closing on the easements. So they are trying to do that by the end of the month, and this is old carryover, if you will, but money that was in the 2023 budget, that just was some of those budget amendments at the end of the year that we didn't get done. And so we put them in carryover and still need them. I do want to highlight that this is not going to jeopardize our grant funds. CATS, at the local level, they manage their money with their own budget. So as long as we can get through the TIP amendments, we call them, with the technical committee, then we will still have our grant funds. They wouldn't let us extend it 10 years or something, but they understand these things happen. And the other thing I wanted to highlight is that this project was anticipated to be constructed this year as well. We have been learning, we keep in contact with our consulting firms, and they have said that it is still, I don't want to say impossible, but not physically advantageous to bid and construct a project in the same year. So we're coordinating it with the road commission is completing a reconstruction project on 9th Street this year in the same limits. And so we are coordinating with them on their schedule. And there is a potential that we wait until 2025 to construct this project. We would still bid it in 2024. And then contractors are still trying to fill up their schedules a year in advance. So once we get the easements, there is also some funds budgeted for negotiations. I've just had that, when we just got the Parkview easements, that was a thing, it was very common to have that request from residents. If we removed a tree, they wanted it replaced. Those types of things, so.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
If the construction is delayed, the actual construction delayed by another year, will that incur additional cost? Will we be, again, discussing this as another request? Because every year funds go up. Would that then cause any jeopardy to the grant? Again, you probably said no, but the additional cost, would there be additional cost expected if we did delay?
I would say yes, I just don't think it will be as much as if we try to bid it in this year. So again, our engineers, they get average unit prices from all their projects, all the MDOT projects, and we try to weigh those two things. My approach would try to actually be to give the contractor a set number of days to complete it, but a bigger window of time. So if they couldn't fit it into their 2024 schedule, then it would get constructed into 2025. And that's where we can find some value benefit in the pricing, is because then they know they have a project on their books right away. But if, costs do go up. When they bid the project, they are held to those costs. MDOT does not allow for any kind of inflationary adds. So once we receive the bids, we'll know the exact price.
Are there any other questions? Any discussion? I thought you were, oh, I see what you were doing. And you know, I made a mistake with the first one. Is there any public comment on this item? Okay, seeing and hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve the budget amendment for easement acquisition and negotiations for the 9th Street Sidewalk Project in the amount of $85,000.
Support.
All right, we have a motion and support. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0 with one absent. And that takes us right into the building department budget amendment, which I can handle this one. So, in short, this is a salary reallocation. The intention was to transition from the building authority to a building department with a building official, and that did not happen. And so, instead of having our own building official, at this time, we have contracted with Safe Built to provide those services. And so this is a reallocation of dollars from the salary lines that would have gone to full-time staff to be paid out through contracted services. That's the summary of the request before you. And the amount is $50,000. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
I was waiting.
My question's on the writing of the proposed motion.
Yeah, so I will say this, the person who prepared this is so into this, he knows so much about this, and I think it may have convoluted he was being very specific, and I don't need that specific of a motion. We really just need a motion to reallocate $50,000 from salary lines to contracted services. It can be that simple.
I move to approve a budget amendment to reallocate $50,000 of the building department salaries to the, contracted services.
Support.
All right, we have a motion and we have support. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0 with one absent. And then that brings us to the IT department budget amendment for Adobe Creative Software reallocation. We have a memo before us, and if we have any questions, our IT director is available. This is pretty straightforward. This is not new money. We're just changing the blue line. So there's a blue line in there for, for all our entire budget, right? We have all these blue lines. And so for one of the blue lines within the computer support general ledger number, the request is to reallocate those to this software. John, do you want to say where it's coming from?
Memo may have a problem with the GL.
Well, hold on.
So basically, we paid our Laserfish subscription, and it came in about $3,000 under budget. So we actually have the little over $1,000 to pay for this software without having to ask for new money.
So it's really coming from that blue line item for the Laserfish expenditure, which came in under budget. I'm just reiterating what he said. The note at the bottom of this is that since this amount was below $2,000, it was approved administratively, so this is in line with our purchasing policy. It's coming to the board for the official budget amendment. So again, no new money.
So is like buying a software doesn't apply to this IT computer support budget line?
Well, it does, but we had very specific blue line allocations in there, which we might very well loosen up during the next budget cycle so that we have a little more leeway.
So the blue line wasn't IT computer support? It was more specific?
Well, the blue line was for Adobe, for Laserfish, for every software that we have a line item for. This Creative Solutions is a brand-new item that we haven't ever put in a blue line item
That's
before.
fair.
So
Right, okay.
it's a new software.
Yeah, I understand. We should work on the mechanics so that this one doesn't come to us again.
I agree.
This isn't a very good use of any of our time here, but
So
I get why we're
remember,
here.
remember that, well, first of all, the blue line budget is a tool that staff uses so that they can bring over expenditures from one year to another. And then in addition to that, because we're specific on the blue line, we can pay the bills without asking for the township board to do that, because we've already asked you through the process of the budget. And so that does set us up for some things like this. I mean, we could loosen up the wording a little bit, but we still do want to be somewhat specific in the blue
I
line.
understand.
Are there any other questions about this? I would entertain a motion.
I'd move to approve the purchase of a subscription of Adobe Creative Software in the amount of $1,080. Is that all you need? You don't need to
Nope, that's
move
it.
it from here to there?
Nope, I mean, it's not moving really, so.
Hence the moot point.
What's that?
And I think we had a second?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
It's all ministerial.
Well,
Both of us.
Both of us.
oh, got it. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Motion carried 6-0 with one absent. This is one of those ones that would have been in a quarterly budget amendment sheet also, so it wouldn't have had quite a focus on it.
Got it.
Let's move on to the last budget amendment, and it is the Parks Department budget amendment for the Drake Farmstead Kitchenette. This one is actually also pretty straightforward. This was a project that should have been completed last year, but it wasn't, and so those dollars went back into carryover, and the Parks Director is requesting to use those funds now.
I'm sorry, I've hit my limit for budget amendments for the year.
This is the
Good luck, Chuck.
So we had warned the board of this when we drew down those budget lines at the end of the year, that many of those were just projects that did not get completed. And we can only pay for those items or services in the year that they occurred in. And so this is coming before you now. Are there any questions? You certainly are allowed to speak at the podium if you would like. All right.
Should have got an air fryer.
Any,
We'll need another budget amendment for that.
that is not in any blue line anywhere. Oh, I might check the fire department. Any discussion? I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the budget amendment in the amount of $6,500 to complete the kitchenette project for the carriage barn at Drake Farmstead Park.
Support.
All right, we have a motion and support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I guess I have one more.
On a side note, I would say, we shall take a field trip out there when, the work is completed.
I'll bring an air fryer. Bring the nuggets.
Are you donating an air fryer or
Maybe.
just bringing
I
one?
don't think I'll bring it home with me.
We
if
can
use
do
it.
that. I donated a coffee machine. I didn't have room on my counter anymore,
I have a question.
because of my
Just a-
air fryer, actually.
Figured out a place for dump day.
I have a clarification question. Did we skip page 29, or was that cut out? I did not hear that. Page 29 is the fire.
That's the one that was removed at the beginning.
I thought, just wanted to make sure of that.
That will come back, very likely at the next board meeting. Okay. Look at us.
Hey, I'm sorry, where are we on the agenda? Done?
We finished our budget amendments, and so now we're going into item 9, public comment.
All right. After public comment, can we do a little light banter?
Is there any public comment? Seeing and hearing none, we'll close that out, and we will go to board comments and committee updates. Zach, I think you're first.
/ light banter.
/ light banter.
I wanted to know if you had any update that you could give us on the trash day conversations that may have occurred since the last meeting.
Yep, so I was actually gonna do that during my board member comment. I've put the request out to, the hall service, the trash service. And, one of the suggestions was to do, 5 in-person dump days and 5 certificates, and she is running that through, the administration at her company. And I have not heard back after that, so. A little bit more time. We really need to, the urgency is definitely there. We have folks wondering why they don't know the trash day schedule because it's February and May will be upon us. April, actually.
I guess the only reason I ask is because it concerns me a little bit, this move to Miller Road that was discussed last time. And when we had the conversation at the last meeting, in my mind's eye, all I could see was that new transfer station on Ravine. And that's where I was thinking these folks were operating. And when I was hearing Miller, and I was thinking, I was like, oh, that makes sense. It's right there. Miller Road one is a little bit more less accessible. So just had some concerns.
I will say on a side note there, to the few residents who this topic was brought up with, there was not pushback, and I was actually surprised. But so I look forward, we'll have that discussion again. If not, I would really like to do it on February 20th. I just don't know if we'll have the information for that. Between now and February 20th, we have my office has a lot of early voting work to do.
Nellie wrote on the outside of my envelope, I hope that comes.
No, it's fine. But I didn't see
Nellie.
it, so now I'm gonna go look at it. All right, did you have any other
I
comments or
have
updates?
no other updates for the board.
All right, Kristen? Nothing. Excellent, I'm gonna go back this way. Neil?
Yeah, a couple quick things. I did want to acknowledge in the memo from the Parks Department that we did have items that were done at cost and donated. I think that's important, that those in-kind donations being important and acknowledge them. I'm also looking forward to next week, Tuesday. I have early voting training workers. I'm chairing one of the sites for 4 days during the early voting, so I'm looking forward to doing that and learning all about that. And it's good enough for today.
Excellent, thank you. I was debating between calling you Michael or Trustee Chapman, but I called everybody else by their first name, so Michael.
Please do. I have no updates. I will, we heard a public comment earlier today about the signs. I will point out those are right exactly at the trailhead for the Fruit Belt Trail. It is very intimidating. I parked there myself and ignored the signs, but he does have a point that it is, as we develop that, we're going to have to make sure that the signage is addressed, because it is intimidating and it makes it look like the Fruit Belt is not public. It looks that way the way they place the signs, and it very much is public. So I do share his concern and experience that, and with it being at a trailhead, it could develop into a problem depending on what the ultimate use of Chime School is. No other comments, though.
You know, and just to follow up with that, I mean, as far as I know, that property is still owned by KPS, and we do have a relationship with them, so we'll probably be able to reach out and do some follow-up. Treasurer Bushka.
So I do have some public media network update. The cable subscribers in our township dropped below, I believe the number was 4,300. And so we did lose a seat. We had 2. We did lose a seat on the public media network. So Lisa Godfrey will need to be removed from our seat positions, but she is not a large member, so she's still with the board in that capacity. Bill is still in Senate, however, to slow down for the ceasing of pass-through for like the PEG fees and the cable fees that we pass on to PMN. So they've agreed to slow that process down and review it further rather than just pushing it at the request of multiple agencies and requests the municipalities so they have done that. We're also doing a retreat with them in mid-May for a day and a half, so I will be out of the office then, but it's to get a kind of an idea of where we're at, where we want to be, and how we need to get, what we need to do to get there. That'll be later on in May. As far as taxes, 2 weeks ago at our meeting, we had collected 58%, and we are now at 69%. It did not go up as fast as I had thought or hoped. We do have until the end of February, but at the 15th, it does, of course, add the penalties and additional interest, so I'm hoping next week this kind of has me running ragged, because 69% is not very good right now. That's all I have.
Just an update, at what point are we no longer offering the dog licenses for the county?
So somebody had mentioned that it was February 14th, but I believe it's March 1st.
It was actually in the newsletter, so we need to get that updated on our website.
Yeah, that is where I read it, and I kind of went, wait, what?
Yeah.
It's always been March 1st, but so I do believe, and I will continue to push until March 1st, because they're not even picking them up until like the 6th. So I'm going to say March 1st.
All right, I said newsletter, and I'll provide an update on that, although that is really officially out of my office now. So the last newsletter that I was involved with was supposed to be our fourth quarter newsletter. It ended up not getting out to mailboxes in the township until the end of January. It was an interesting process because that was our first project with LKF, which is the marketing firm that we have contracted to help us build a communications plan. But as many of you already know, Kyle Gibson, as the building department is winding down, he is entering his new role with the township, which is halftime communications. And so he is ready to go and has started making his plan for our actual fourth quarter newsletter. And that's very good news. So I think we're going to get back on a better schedule. What did I say? Fourth. Oh, I'm like, yeah, the first quarter. Yeah, it is the first quarter.
Wait, we're doing it over?
No, 2023 is gone. I know. No, my apologies, first quarter. Because some folks who received that at the end of January thought that that was our first quarter, and so they were really concerned that we didn't have dump days, we didn't have shred days, and I said, well, you were supposed to get it a month ago, so sorry about that. Let's see, today I went and observed training from the city of Kalamazoo for the first round of early voters. I will be conducting my own training at the Harrison Building, which is at the water reclamation plant. Really cool place to do the training. Tomorrow afternoon, I will be doing another training session at the same location Friday at 9 a.m. All the clerks are taking turns so that it's not all put on one clerk or deputy clerk, which is Shelby Moss from the city of Kalamazoo. And I just want to say that she has put so much effort between her and Meredith Place, our county clerk. They have done so much work toward early voting. It's the least we can do to take over some of those trainings because they've developed the curriculum and made sure that we're hitting deadlines appropriately, no matter how much it feels like the state is fighting us on that. I think today was the first round of training from the state regarding the early voting e-poll book. So we're out here doing the best that we can, but we don't even receive our own, because I will also be a site supervisor for 2 days during early voting at the Expo Center. That will be, I mentioned this before, the 19th and 20th, so I'm going to be late to our meeting on the 20th. We won't even receive that training until February 12th. So, you just got to roll with it. It's not any one person's fault by any means. It's just there are legislators, there's the Bureau of Elections, there were the voters, there's the actual clerks. Everybody's involved in this, and it's going to be a good experience. What did I say in my newsletter? I look forward to the challenges that 2024 brings. And with that, I don't have any other updates or public comment at this time. So I will actually let Attorney Porter speak. He requested some time.
I just, as the board is aware, all of the employees were authorized to receive sort of a token of your expression of appreciation, that is in the way of a shirt or a jacket or something. And I wanted to say thank you for that. Got a nice jacket with the Oshtemo label. But that's not the thing that impressed me the most. The thing that impressed me the most, and not just myself but other employees, is that this board took the time to write personal thank you notes to all of the employees. And I have to tell you, I think that's one of the first times I've received a note from this board. And it was very much appreciated, so thank you.
You're welcome, and that was so serious, I don't want to make the joke that I send you notes all the time.
Not thank you notes.
And right now, I want to personally thank Anna Horner for all of her work, because it was my understanding that somewhere along the way, your thank you note was misplaced? No? Yeah, so thank you for all of your work. Hashtag Team Stefan. And what I would have said on it was, thank you for being the best baddie we have. So, thank you. All right. Seeing and hearing no other business, we are adjourned.
Wow, just about a record.
Actually, Michael, I had, when we had much busier